Okay, I'm going to start with Android Studio closed as it's a new section, just to show you a couple more things on startup. So if you recall, when we open up Android Studio like this, it's always going to take us back into the last thing that we were working on, unless we closed the project. So that's the application from the last section. Also, you may have seen or start to see every time you open the tip of the day, this thing here. And there's some fantastic things here that they cycle through at random, but there's a lot of learning there if you like. So you might want to leave these on. For the purpose of this course, I'll be turning mine off. And if you turn yours off, they can always be turned on later. Okay, let's do that and close it now. And yeah, so to do a new project, we close this down to get back to that welcome dialog. So close project, back to the welcome dialog with an ever-growing list of recent applications to the left. Start a new project. Okay, so if you remember from the overview, we're going to be working on a BMI calculator for this section. A real, actual BMI calculator that you can use and develop as you like. So empty activity is fine. Next, we'll call the app BMI calculator or anything that you like similar. The package name may have been the one from the previous section, We Love Crazy Quotes. Feel free to change it to anything you like. We're not going to be publishing this one, although if you want to, make it something unique. I've gone for com.myname.BMI calculator. It seems to be saving it by default into our developer course folder /BMI calculator, so that's fine. Leave it as Java and finish. This should all be recap now. However, I thought I'd go through it one more time in this new section. As we get into the course, I'm going to trust that you can do that setup for new projects on your own more and more. Okay. So again, my project appears to be finished setting up. I don't see any more activity down here, so I know we're ready to go. On the left in the project pane, I can see it's doing that default Android view, and we want the project view. Again, this is recap or review of the previous section. So always change that to project for the time being. And that's the folders, the files as they are on a computer. If the top folder is closed, go ahead and open that. Remember, we don't really care, or we're not interested right now in these two bottom ones, external libraries and scratchers and consoles, but do have the top folder open for now. So project pane, code editor, and the toolbar. And I'm just gonna drag the project pane just over to the left a bit. It's a bit too big for me, so click and drag to do that, and that's looking good. So the objective is to understand what the layout files are. So we have two files already open when we make a new project, our main activity.java, our Java code when we make the app do things and respond to things, and we have activity_main.xml, and this is our layout file. So go ahead and click this now. Now, it may have given you one of those three views. Most likely it would have given you the full screen view, the design view. And if it's on this now, let's leave it. And if it's not on this, then do go ahead and click on that full screen design view. So, understanding what the layout files are. The layout file is a design, a blueprint, almost like an architectural blueprint of what should be on the screen, how the screen should be laid out. So whenever Android goes to a new screen, a new view, it's going to read your layout file as a set of instructions as the data for what should go where. In this case, if I click over to my split view now, okay, we've got an instruction, some data to say we want a text view, some text. And it's going to say where to put it, what it should say, how wide it should be, how high it should be, as well as various other attributes or properties. So again, in Android, the layout file is just a set of instructions, some data for what goes where. If I go back to the full design view now, we might have an instruction to put a picture at the top in the middle. We might have an instruction to put a button underneath the text view. We might have an instruction to put 3 buttons horizontally in a row, filling the width, equal spacing. These are all just instructions, data for what to put where. So you can think of the Android layout files as an architectural blueprint that is read and processed when the screen first loads. Now let's have a look. Activity_main.xml. So this leads to our second objective, and that objective is to understand what XML is. So, XML. Well, first of all, it stands for Extensible Markup Language. And that's not a thing you ever really need to remember, but it's useful to know. And the word extensible is pretty much a direct synonym for extendable. So extensible equals extendable. So extensible markup language. And if you're wondering, the two equal signs there is by design. That's a programming thing. That's the way we compare if things are equal. We'll be revisiting that later in the course. So we have extensible or extendable markup language. And the term markup language, this is pretty much as it sounds. It's just a file which is markings, like an architectural blueprint. So you might make some markings on a piece of paper, on a note, and that might be some instructions or a design or a sketch. So when we use markup languages, and there are other types of markup language like HTML, which you may have heard in websites, and that stands for Hypertext Markup Language. These markup languages are just intended to be read like instructions, like a design, like data. It's not a programming language. Okay? And extendable means we can customize this. We can take the basic XML structure, the way XML documents are built, and we can build upon that, extend it, and make it our own. It is used to describe data. It's intended to be human readable. So as mentioned, this is not a programming language, and it can be used for all sorts of things. These XML files will be just data, whether that's instructions or a design, a blueprint. It's up to the Android system to decide what to do with that data. And it's intended to be human readable, so when we start to work with this, you'll see, okay, there's some simple syntax and a couple of symbols, but mostly it's quite easy to understand just looking at the file. So there'll be words that should make sense, attributes that should make sense. So you or I could look at an XML file and actually understand the intention behind it, as it will hopefully quite soon make sense. Now, XML isn't just used in Android, it's used in many places. It's used on the internet for sending data over the web. Android uses it for multiple things, for the various resources, and these include the layout files that we're looking at now, but it's also used for things like storing words, perhaps storing them in different languages, dimensions, so how wide, how high something should be, how big, and colors, and much, much more. So in summary, XML, which is our extensible markup language, it's used to describe data in a way that is easy to read, easy for humans to understand, and Android uses this mostly for its resources, which includes layouts, which is what we're looking at the moment. Okay?